Um, my albums, I have 14 albums or even more. I've got music, so much music. It's all been recorded. We're going to be releasing it little by little, usually connected with a project, some kind of project. Like King of Africa, it comes out as a theme, and there's certain things that we do, certain types of organizational things, socioeconomic things that we do that relate to that album. And in my father's house, likewise, radio presenter, Pleasureland, all of them kind of like, it depends on what the content is on the album, the lyrical content is. It must resonate with some project, some socioeconomic project, some social political, geopolitical project, somehow, some way that is creating the world, a better world. So we passed the age of awareness. Bob Marley gave us the awareness, to be aware of the problems. And now we got to kind of like be aware of the problems, sing about our awareness of the problems, but actually be working like real hard with bringing the solutions. So if you look at my career, the time that a normal artist normally would spend trying to get a deal, trying to get the single out and try to promote the single and promote the album and tour and all of that, that is the time that I spent trying to get to the bottom of what the problems, the socioeconomic problems are. And I gave them my everything. I gave up everything for that. That's why I went to Africa, to South Africa, to go and study this. When I speak to anybody right now about anything that I'm doing in Africa, they may not understand it at first, why I say do this and do that. But I've got the overview because I have studied this. I've looked at it, you know from my own perspective. I've looked at it and I know every time I organize anything or anytime I call anybody into Cool Mom Records and say, welcome to Cool Mom Records, I know why I call that person. I know who I'm going to put them in constellation with and for what reason. You see, because talk is cheap. I've been there. I was there in London for years talking with organizations in London and it never got us nowhere. So there are certain things in life that you don't talk, but you show. And the first thing I had to show was the commitment to Africa. And I went to Africa, prepared to walk 18,000 kilometers. But even then, I met a lot of hindrances so that I only ended up walking 1,000 kilometers. But even then, that is enough commitment to build things on for me to return and do the 18,000. That means that when we go back to do the 18,000, we're going to be going there with an organization that is trained in bringing solutions, so that I'm not overwhelmed by the amount of solutions we need to come up with. Because even within that first 1,000 kilometers, there's enough problems. I was already overwhelmed. Like, how do we face this? Which is why it's good to take a break and come back to Denmark and to Europe and America and build these solutions like Zisakuduse Festival, you know? That's why it's important to do that, because then now we can go back with this Akuduse festival and really come up with solutions in Tanzania, in Malawi, in Kenya, everywhere. So that's Cool Mom Records for you. So as an artist, I spent more time dealing with these solutions more than with my career. But I feel I'm still young enough, strong enough to deal with the career things, and that's where I'm headed to now. I'm headed into, look, my job is to sing and to entertain, so I've got to find my style, our old man style, or old man trying to look young style, or whatever you might want to call it. But this is my thing. Playing guitar and singing and writing songs is my thing, and I have created CCSR as my responsibility, so that when I sing to an audience about problems. If I sing to an audience that say, get up, stand up for your rights, I'm not saying stand up in any which way you might think or whatever rights you might know. I'd have already worked out for you what those rights are and how you're going to stand up. So basically, I know that I'm speaking to people who we are activating. You understand? So it's like we say, water rights. What are your rights? Water rights. Because if I look out into a crowd of millions of people, I will not know what your rights are individually. Unless I know it is your water right. I know all of you got a right to water. No matter what your belief is, faith is, whether you're a landowner or not a landowner, whatever you may be, you got a right to water. So that way I deal with it in a way where I know what I'm dealing with. I'm talking to my crowd and we're educating and empowering our crowd at the same time. So Cool Mom Records is the best thing I could ever do. I mean, we're at the forefront of everything right now. Every artist on the planet needs to be with us. Every one of them, especially the ones who sing conscious stuff. People like Ziggy Marley and whatever, they need to be with Cool Mom Records. They need to sign. A person like Ziggy Marley needs to sign a deal with us, a CCSR deal, because I've been listening to Ziggy for so long and I know where his heart is at when it comes to the earth and people and all of that. So he needs to sign with us because we can implement those things that he talks about. The awareness has been brought to us, but we specialize in the implementation.